sound on.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mayor's Minutes. Oh, I got to straighten the hat out. Nancy just asked me, what's with the hat? Are you cold? And I said, yes, but I wear it to show all Methuen 24/7 all the time. So, and this is, you can get this, I got this at Methuen Day, downtown Methuen. I think Methuen Youth Baseball was selling them, if I'm correct. So, great purchase, and I wear it all winter, keeps me warm. Hopefully it keeps you warm too. Just a reminder as we start the show, I've said this every week since the first week of January, that we've switched our medium from Facebook Live to YouTube. So you can submit live questions on the Methuen Community Studios YouTube channel, and we'll see them here, and I'll ask the councilors. We got a couple councilors again today, and we're going to, any tough questions go to the councilors, and any easy softballs go to the mayor. That's the way this works out. So if we go to the slides, this is part of our Meet Your City Council. Here we go, Meet Your Methuen City Council members. And today we're joined by Council Chair Joel Faretra and West District City Councilor Allison Saffie. So to both of you, I say thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Is this your first time on the show?
No, I've been on it before.
All right. And I know you've been on it before. Look at those crazy socks on the mayor. So I do want to make a note, and I don't want to get maudlin here. It was a year ago, this coming Saturday, that I had my medical episode, and that decommissioned me for 5 days, not 5 years like some people would tell you. And it was a significant event. I won't downplay that. But I'm ever thankful for not only the great medical care I received, but for all the people who reached out, including the councilors who reached out to me and said, hey, Mayor, if you need anything. It's the best of Methuen happens when you see the worst, right? And I say that all the time, right? In crisis, Methuen really shows its true colors, and I'm forever proud about that. I would also want to interject here that we've had additional follow-up meetings on Holy Family Hospital, and to try to make sure that the communication is good. From my perspective, I would tell you it's not beneficial for us to use rumor stories in the media. They don't benefit anybody. If you are a citizen of Methuen or Lawrence or Andover or North Andover and you're in need of quality medical care, Holy Family is open, available, and still providing quality service, as is Lawrence General. I had the good fortune today to meet with the new president of Lawrence General. She's been in office, I think it's 3 weeks. I met with the president of Holy Family when he was the new president of Holy Family when he was in office 3 days, along with Senators Warren and Markey. And I can tell you that the senators and our state delegation, State Senator Pavel Payano, our reps, from Ryan Hamilton to Estella Reyes to Francisco Polino, they're all on the same page. And when we met with Holy Family Hospital, including that discussion was the State Department of Health and Human Services. So, the good news came regarding the bridge funding last Thursday. I cannot tell you how long that will last. I just know that it's important, and, for the foreseeable future, operations will be sustained, right? And that gives Stewart and the Commonwealth some time to kind of work on a solution. So if you need medical care, forget everything else I said. Go to Holy Family Hospital. Because when we did the tour, I will tell you what Senators Warren and Markey, their staff, and the state delegation said. They were blown away by how positive and upbeat the staff at Holy Family Hospital was. There was no, our management team sucks. We're in a terrible situation. Can you say sucks on cable TV?
You can say anything you want. I'm pretty sure
I
it's
know.
still much worse than that. I think.
Yeah, I have done worse than that. So, but positive message is, the staff at Holy Family, they hit the ball out of the park, and they do. And to be honest with you, so does Lawrence General. We're blessed to have two really good community hospitals here, and part of, if you're talking to any of your state senators or your Senators Warren and Markey's office, put in there that, there has to be greater support shown for community hospitals. That's notwithstanding, and I'm not giving Stewart a pass on the financials, right? That is secondary to me, because what I impressed upon Senators Warren and Markey and the Secretary of Health and Human Services is that for Holy Family to close, would it be a financial catastrophe for the city of Methuen? Yes, it would. But that would pale in comparison to the public health crisis it would create. So if you think that Lawrence General would be able to handle the overflow if Holy Family was closed, that would not happen. So we're in there fighting for you. I also do want to update, the days in, and maybe we can talk about that a little bit, councilors. Excuse me. There's been some forward progress, and there was an article in Tribune today that actually correctly quoted me. Talks about some of the development that's happening at the hotel and the positive spin on it, right? And so that continues to be monitored by both health and our health inspection, our code enforcement officers, excuse me, and our fire and police. And I reiterate that my issue is not necessarily with homeless people, right? Homelessness is a crisis. My issue with the state is I don't believe it's fair to the Methuen taxpayer to be straddled with the cost of additional police patrols, additional police responses, additional fire and ambulance responses, and additional code enforcement responses, because those are things that we've sent data to the governor and lieutenant governor that they're unrefutably up since the hotel has changed hands.
Yeah, so I think,
Go ahead.
if you don't mind me stepping in
No,
there for a
please.
second, and I think a lot of our issues have to do with the facility itself.
Correct.
You have this owner who is taking in money hand over fist from the state, and for the longest time wasn't investing that money back
Correct.
into the facility.
Yep.
So when you have a substandard facility and you have these people coming in from other communities who are now calling this their home long term,
Yeah.
that's what a lot of the issues were, and that leads to that was the domino effect. That leads to the code enforcement calls, police, fire, and all of that
Yeah.
stuff. So now when you're finally seeing the owner invest that money back into it,
Yeah,
I think I think it's going to have a domino effect in the other way, where
I agree.
it might start lessening those calls. Also, getting cooperation from CTI and the state with lessening the amount of families that are going to be in that hotel. We're at 81 now, according to CTI. That was at the meeting on Monday. And then once they get down to 75, they're not going to get back over that number, which I
Correct.
think is much more manageable for that facility.
I couldn't agree more. Well stated, Council Chair. So again, I want to welcome, Council Chair Joel Faretra and West District Councilor Saffie. Welcome to the show. Joel, we were talking before the show went on. It's been a while since you've been here. I think you did a couple while I was out, when we first didn't know whether we were going to keep going with the show or not. And Allie, you've been on before, but it's been quite a while since you've been on, right? So good timing. So I've got some preset questions, but I throw this up, anything of interest that you want to talk about, that you want your constituents of Methuen to take away from the program. This is your opportunity, right? And I'm going to tease you with, there's good news on the fire side, and I'll leave it at that, right? So we will be discussing what I believe will be a positive outcome for everybody in the West, everybody in Methuen.
Awesome.
Let me put it that way, right? It's a positive development, and I just want to make sure I don't sink the deal.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
No, so you want, what was that you wanted us to kind of?
Yeah, talk about, well, let me give you a couple questions first, and we'll go. So what do you, and we'll go in whatever order you want. What are your top priorities during your last term in City Council?
Mine are, I really am looking forward to seeing all the projects start up and get going. I'd like to see some of them get finished. I know that we probably won't in our term. I'm also looking forward to working with the new councilors. I've met with Councilor Valley and Soto before the election. I was blown away with both of them. So I'm very excited to see what they bring to the table and how I can help them and work with them.
Yeah. It's great. It's great that they got elected. So, it's good that the council is starting to represent the diversity of the community, right?
Absolutely.
So, that's a positive thing. Joel?
Yeah, so to kind of follow up on Council Saffie, obviously we have all these opera projects that are kind of all juggling all these balls in the air, but a project that I know Council Saffie and I have both talked about is we want to start in something that you're on board with as well, is kind of laying that groundwork for a new public safety complex somewhere in
Yes,
Methuen.
absolutely.
Amen.
Anyone who's brought their kids to the police and fire stations during the open house knows the need
Yeah.
for a new fire station, a police station. From a counselor standpoint, anytime we have to buy a vehicle for the fire station, Chief Sheehy and his staff have to go find one that is retrofitted to actually get into a fire station.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big priority of mine.
Agreed.
And then my other priority, we actually have a meeting on this after this show tonight, is the open space and recreation piece. It's been something that's been driving me for years.
Agreed.
I was on the MAIC before that, around the stadium, and it's something that we definitely need improvement with. It's not often that
Agreed.
people say, well, Lawrence has this and Methuen doesn't. Well, when it comes to basketball courts and other parks, Lawrence does kind of put us to shame on that. So we
does.
really want to see us
Yeah.
make up that gap.
Oh, I would love to. I mean, the court they built with the gas explosion money, you know, that's the brick with the lights.
Yep.
That is fabulous. I mean,
Absolutely.
we got to do something like that. So I agree with you. But it is, you know, and I love that you both have like excitement in your voice. It is exciting to transition from a, you know, financially focused enterprise, right? Now that we're on solid footing, you know, how do we start to translate that into things that are, you know, that the citizens can see, right? And that's the roads and sidewalks, that's the parks, that's a lot of our open space. And you're going to see, I've got an ad towards the end of the program for the Methuen 300 committee. And we need to get, you know, 1 or 2 councils on that, and probably, you know, some citizens, right, to drive what we do for our 300th birthday. Because I remember when we did our 250th, they were planning it for probably 2 years in advance. So
Oh, wow.
2026 is literally less than 2 years away, right? So it would be nice. I don't think Lord Paul Methuen is still alive. He was in '76. If he was, Nancy, maybe we could call him up and get him back. But I don't think. But there's other things like that. You know, and you know, it's funny you said. So I had a call from the police chief, and I want to, you know, relay this. And some people say, "Oh, you shouldn't have said." You know, we're dealing with a rodent problem at the police station, right? And part of that is because the building is so old and there's so many entrances, right? So
Yeah.
many ways to get in.
Well, it's built on the wetlands,
Right.
and then a building of that age isn't going to have the infrastructure to keep
It isn't.
animals out.
It
and
isn't.
there's only so many Band-Aids you can put on a gunshot wound before
Yeah.
you know you finally just have to have surgery. And at this point,
Yeah,
that building's run its course. I think at
You
this
just
point.
have to promise me, because I don't think we'll see the construction of a public safety complex in my term, but if one of you becomes mayor and you pick up that mantle, you know, there's an enormous opportunity there.
Yeah.
So I don't know, you know, if you, and you know, I'll tell you with my health emergency last year, when you call 911, it goes to the police department. If it's a medical emergency, you get transferred to the fire station, right? If we were to build a public safety complex and combine those dispatchers, right?
Yeah.
You could have one person field the call versus, now,
Yeah.
would that require training, and does it require, you know, collective bargaining? Absolutely, but I mean, the benefits would be enormous.
Absolutely, and I know police and fire, if you ask each of them,
Yeah.
it needs to be a complex because they don't want to be in their own buildings.
Amen.
'Cause, you know,
Amen.
It needs to be a police building and
Yeah.
a fire building, and I also want to see DPW as part of that as well, because all three of those are intertwined when it comes to
Agreed.
vehicles going
Agreed.
out of commission.
Yep.
You know, there's a lot of work between the three, so I think
Yeah.
that complex should also have
Yeah.
a DPW component as well.
Agreed. So let me give you another question here, because nobody's written in yet. You're mystifying them. What's been your favorite part of being a city councilor? Go ahead, Joel, you first.
Mine?
Yeah.
I know it sounds silly, but it's like it's the little one. It's the phone calls you get from a constituent that you can actually help somebody and,
The little
and get a
victories, yeah.
get that resolved. Like I had an issue. A constituent called me last week, and then I send an email out, and then within 48 hours, your office or DPW is down there filling a pothole,
Right.
and that resident
Right.
calls me back. He's like,
Right.
"I've been trying for months." You know, those are the little things that you get. All right. You are making a difference. 'Cause
Yeah, you are.
sometimes it's hard between all the negativity and everything else. Why you're doing this, but then when you do make a difference in somebody else's day-to-day life,
Yeah.
you're right.
Anything you want to add, Councilor?
I mean, I'd have to agree. The ones when we can turn around in a day are fabulous
Yeah,
and make
yeah.
us all look great. This one, I mean, I had a couple issues that took almost a year, and it was no fault of the city. It's just
Yeah.
some things take time.
Yeah.
And I mean, you make lifelong friends with these residents because you really dedicate a huge portion of your time and day helping them out. So, I mean, I appreciate that, the things that they give. And
to follow up on that, Councilor, even when you help out and you can't get those answers, but they see the attempts and they see how you're helping out, that, they appreciate that just as much.
Yep.
I know we have a gentleman who comes to meetings every other week, and Councilor Saffie and I have had numerous conversations with him in between those meetings, but he may be frustrated, but he knows that, there are people that are, trying to help. And
well, and I was, he was there the other night, as you know, and I was explaining to the gentleman that came with him. So, while it's illegal for me to use public monies on private ways, which is the main issue here, the road still has to be passable for emergency vehicles. So whether it's potholes or maybe even, paving it, right? Sometimes the path is, listen, we can't get an emergency vehicle down there anymore. You're going to have to pave the street, right? So to me, that's part and parcel, but I agree with you. What will you miss most once your term is done? Allie, we'll start with you.
What will I miss most?
Yeah. Besides me, of course. Yeah.
Probably helping residents and that. I have a couple residents, I'm sure we all do, that are routine callers that almost become like family.
Yeah.
A couple of them have passed away, which is unfortunate. But I mean, I hope to still talk to them. I'll miss being able to help them with the city issues. But I'll miss that.
Mr. Chair? Yeah.
So there's definitely a strong friendship I've built with a couple of councilors who we talk almost daily. And hopefully when that 6 years ends up, hopefully the topics are probably a little more fun to talk about than what they are now. But that's the piece that I'm going to miss, is that camaraderie and just, going to City Hall and all of that. So I've really, getting to work with Linda through the, through the council office and working with some of these other department heads and getting to know a lot of these people in the department who have become friends over the time. That's going to be probably the stuff that's going to stink at the end when you walk away from that. Now probably they don't answer your call as much anymore now. And you're just Joel Faretra, the guy who lives on Clausen Court, as compared to council chair.
It's hard to believe we're 5 years into it.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I have to pinch myself, and say, whoa, it feels like,
Well, the first year and a half was crazy. We get elected, we had a couple of meetings, and all of a sudden COVID hits, and then everything's thrown upside down.
Shut down, yeah.
So.
Good point. All right, we're going to switch off. We'll come back to some, council related. You're not having the baby here, are you?
No.
Okay. Sorry. Holding on. I'm scared.
So we'll go to some more personal ones and talk about, how things should. What's your favorite movie, TV show, food, or book? Start with you, Joel.
So
I think I know the answer to one of these.
Okay, so beer is not a food, but
yes, it is.
Okay, if for movies, I'm a Rocky guy.
Right.
I'll watch anytime going through the channels.
Yeah.
Except for there's the Tommy Gunn one, Rocky 5. That I don't count that one really. Yeah. But even the new Creed ones are good. And then TV shows. I've started finally doing streaming stuff. I just finished the second season of Reacher. Oh yeah. Off of the books, which is that's really good.
Yeah.
And
I've heard,
food, I'm pretty much I'll go anywhere at this point.
Yeah.
So.
I was hoping you'd say bacon.
I know. Yes. Well, I got a little soft spot in my heart for that. Probably a hard artery or two, but just the process of making it, I enjoy it. So.
Counselor?
I've actually been rewatching Ted Lasso. It's a positive, upbeat show.
Oh my God!
I was watching a lot of medical shows, and Vinny put an end to that because I was crying every time. I mainly stick to positive, upbeat things now. And then for food, it would probably be my new thing is chicken broccoli Alfredo. It's my new go-to.
Did that change with the pregnancy? Or
honestly, I'm a very sheltered person, believe it or not, and I've never tried it up until 3 weeks ago, and I loved it. Yeah. Good for you. That's trying new things.
There we go.
I'm going to give you two pieces of advice. So the mayor is a TV fanatic when he's not at work, and I've started watching 2 shows that are on at the same time. So obviously I have to tape one of them, and one of them is True Detective, Night Country. Ooh. And so. I'll be honest, I want to So I'm intrigued by this current fourth season. This is the fourth season. So the first season was unbelievably good with Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson. The second season, the S word, I won't use it, right? The third season with Mahala Ali, it came back. It was a little bit better, not quite as good as the first. And the jury's still out for me on this fourth one. I'm still waiting to see where it goes. It's got kind of a supernatural tone to it, which is testing my believability. Yeah. But so far, enjoyable. I don't know whether I'd give it, like 5 stars. I'd give it probably 3.5. But the other one is this show on AMC Plus called Monsieur Spade. And Clive Owen, who's one of my favorite actors, he's in it. And it's about Sam Spade, the detective. And fast forward to 1955, he's in France. And it's kind of got an intriguing plot line. I would say that much like True Detective, my jury's still out on it, right? I'm still waiting to see, what happens. And, okay, now this all makes sense to me, right? So, okay. How about books? Any books? No.
I'm not a reader.
No.
Yeah, me neither.
The packets are enough for me. No, I really was never much of a reader, and when I did read, it was more autobiographies, or real life stuff. I never got into the fiction. Yeah, but
now you were heavily involved in lacrosse before, right?
Yes, still am.
I was just going to say. So when you're done, your gig as council chair, do you see yourself going back into that more, or?
So
I know your kids have gotten.
I still officiate, so I'm still doing the officiating piece. I probably at this point I tried going back to coaching. The fire's not there right now. I enjoy the officiating a lot. So I don't see myself getting myself back into that coaching piece. I'm not sure what's going to change when once I'm going to sit there. I'm going to have all this free time. Yeah. I'm sure the wife's going to hand me a list of stuff that I'm going to need to catch up on that I've put off for 6 years.
We call that a honeydew list.
Oh yes. We just got to. So we just bought a camper. Yeah. And I'm in the process of renovating the inside of that now.
Super.
So I'll be a little more free to be able to travel that. We got a couple places across country that we've, had an idea we want to do. Yeah. She wants to go to Dollywood. I want to head out west eventually, but
I hear a lot of. So it's funny you bring up. I hear a lot of people who've gone down to Dollywood and Pigeons Forge talk about how awesome it is. What an experience! And I'm like, I've been to Nashville. I've never been to Dollywood, but Nashville was just like. I haven't been since I've been mayor, obviously, but. I went when I was at Raytheon. It was unbelievable. I mean, just a constant. If you like food and you like music, I can't think of a better place for you to go.
I was there last year, and I'm going back again in June.
Unbelievable.
For Country Festival down for 4 days.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
So country music, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, are you specifically country music genre, or do you? Have more eclectic taste.
I grew up in the '80s, so I got my '80s rap stuff,
and then music was,
I got my '80s like hardcore rap stuff up to my '90s alternative, Pearl Jam and Nirvana and that, and then up to country and even older country stuff on top of that. I was a big Doors guy when I was growing up as well.
Doors, I love the Doors. Yeah. Probably the most visited grave in the world.
Yeah, Jim Morrison in France.
Jim Morrison's grave, right? How about you, music-wise, Councilor?
Country's probably my biggest one, but I listen to pretty much everything. Yeah.
Except my kids' music. My kids' music is horrible.
Yeah, I don't listen to much nowadays pop.
I got to be honest with you, it takes me a lot. So what's that guy? There's a song out that I just discovered, and my kids were ragging all over me because it's 3 years old. Right? And I was like, I just heard it.
There is one artist that my kids would get me turned on to, and that was Post Malone.
Yeah.
And I was shocked, but I was like, all right. And now he's coming out with a country. He's kind of definitely crossed over. He's coming out with a country album. He's singing Sunday at the Super Bowl. He's doing America the Beautiful at the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Do you buy into the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce conspiracy theory?
What? That it's not a real couple. That it's just a whole. It's pretty much
just
a big.
She's going to get out there to endorse. Yeah. So supposedly she's performing in. I just read this last night. She's performing in Japan.
Yep.
And she's going to get on a plane, and has to get on the plane immediately after the concert, and then fly. I think it's like 17 hours to be in Vegas.
So, right, to get in Vegas on the day of the Super Bowl in order to have time to sleep and then get to the Super Bowl.
That's unbelievable.
Yes.
All right, so 2 country music fans. That's good to know. We need to have a country music Jamboree in
And
Methuen.
if you ever go to Nashville,
Yeah.
go to the Johnny Cash Hall of Fame.
Really?
It's phenomenal.
Really?
Yeah, my wife and I spent like 3 hours in there.
Wow.
It's such we were blown away by how great it was.
Yeah. You know, the movie was on, was it last night or the night before? I walked in it's after City Council, so Monday night. I walked the line. So I remember hearing about that when it first was made, that Joaquin Phoenix and I forget her name, that they were the stars and they were going to do their own singing. I was like, ugh, do their own singing. They smashed it out of the park. That's a great movie. So, all right. What's one thing that people would be generally surprised to find out about you?
I don't cook much.
You know what?
I don't cook much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm pregnant.
As long as Vin's okay with that, that's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
DoorDash?
Yeah, he actually cooks a lot.
He does?
He's
Oh, there you go.
he's great.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you?
I do all the laundry in my house.
Do you?
Wash, dry, fold, put it away for myself, the kids, everybody. I do all the laundry.
I used to, but I'll say that as a negative. I used to because I'm a little OCD, so I wanted everything folded my way and in the drawer my way. And when I fold it and give it to the kids, you know, they'd stick it in the drawer, I'd be like, ooh, right? But, you know, the only positive thing out of my medical situation is I've learned to release the reins on that, right? Let them do their own laundry.
I fold my stuff differently than I fold the rest of theirs because they just ball it up and throw it away. But I fold my shirts a certain way, so so that way they stack up neat in the drawer, and I can see which shirt is which.
Yeah.
And so they've.
Well, I have my closets are color coded.
Wow.
You know, shirts, jackets, pants, and each one is color coded within, so you can just go through. And the great challenge to that was losing all the weight because I had to weed out a whole bunch of stuff. But it's back to being, you know, color coordinated. My kids just, you know, God love them, they're great kids, and I wouldn't trade them for the world. But when it comes to doing laundry, they are not like their dad. So their idea of doing laundry is washer, dryer, fling it on the couch, right? And I walk by and look at it and say, well, why would you do that? You're kind of defeating the purpose here, right? And they said, no. So they'll live longer than me, so I guess, you know, I'm learning to live with it. So, what was your first job? First job ever?
Market Basket in Chelsea.
Really?
Yes.
Did you like it?
Not really.
No.
But it was a job. You know, you
Yeah.
were 16 years old. The best part of it was when I got my license, we used to have this van, and we'd drive around the whole city and collect all the carts that got stolen out of the parking lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Then every once in a while, we'd just take, oh, maybe there's some down at Revere Beach. And we'd go down and take the van to Revere Beach and
Yeah.
go grab Kelly's or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
to eat.
Kelly's, yeah.
But yeah, that was my first job, working at Market Basket for like $3.75 an hour back
Yeah.
in the 80s.
What was your first job, Counselor?
I actually worked at Market Basket at the Loop at
Wow.
14. Yeah.
Really? As a cashier?
Many years. Yeah.
Did you like it?
I didn't like it when I did it, but
Yeah.
looking back at it, I
Yeah.
loved it for some. Yeah.
So I will tell you that Market Basket, for those that stay with it, it's a great career opportunity. If you want to
it
become
is.
like a store manager in that, it's a great opportunity.
Great business model, and you see so many people that have worked there for, you know, when you walk in, you see the tags 35, 40 years. There's so many people that work their way through that company and stay there for
Not only
decades.
that, you don't realize how decent the prices are. Not that anything's decent, right? In a day when eggs are like $4 a dozen, right? But you walk in there, and you know, if you go someplace else,
Go
you know,
to
to get a
Shaw's.
soda or something, right? To get a 20-ounce soda, you compare the prices. It's like, well, you're getting a great deal at Market Basket, right?
Yeah.
So
They're very good to their employees too.
Yeah.
They give you bonuses once you're there a
yeah.
year, and if you look into it, at least
Yeah.
they used to give you
I just wish
scholarships.
there was a bigger Market Basket, like a Market's Kitchen like they have up in Salem. I wish there was one of those in
you and me
Methuen.
both. You and me both. So I do want to tell you that a quick story. So one of the weird things that's happened with my weight, some foods that I've loved all my life, I can't stand anymore.
Really?
French fries. I can only try, and I'm a potato guy, as you know, right? In any way, shape, or form, right? But French fries, for some reason, if I eat more than 2 French fries, I get turned off, and I don't know why that is. But all my life, I've hated donuts, right? They were lead bombs. All of a sudden, in the last 6 months, donuts, right? I went to Clem's in Wyndham the other day. I got a honey dip jelly filled. You want to talk about a man on a sugar high? Unbelievable.
You ever been to Donna's in Tewksbury?
Oh yeah, Yeah.
There you go.
Well, that used to be a pit stop when we were at Raytheon, but I would get coffee and everybody else would get a donut. I go like, I don't really want it, right? I'm not a fan of cake donuts, the heavy ones, right? Because they get in there and they just sit, you know. So building off that first job, let's talk a little bit about what you do when you're not a council. What's your job?
I actually work at Mass DOT. I'm a the assistant state aid administrator, so mainly Chapter 90 money.
Excellent, excellent. You don't manage Methuen's Chapter 90 funds?
I do not. I stay clear of Methuen.
Avoid any conflict.
Yes.
And you, Counselor?
So I manage a maintenance manager for a condominium complex.
Yeah.
So a lot of hands-on.
Yeah.
You know, fixing a lot of stuff and
Yeah.
dealing with vendors and all of that. Which right now I'm in Methuen, but I'm actually going to move to Woburn in a couple of weeks. Kind of makes it a little cleaner.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good and bad thing working in Methuen.
Yeah.
And the city council stuff because when people are happy, it's great. But then people always think, "Hey, I saw it in the paper." I'm like, "Oh, here we go."
Yeah.
You know, it's like you'd like to get away from it every once in a while.
Yeah.
So it's a good and bad thing working in the city that you're also a city councilor in, or where this isn't our full-time council, isn't the full-time job.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah. So if you build enough, if you could turn back time and talk to your younger self, we'll start with you, Council Chair. What would you tell him or her?
What?
If you could turn it back, visit more breweries.
No, that probably less at this point. You know what? Not much.
Yeah.
You know, I've hit the lottery. Like
No regrets. Yeah.
No, like, you know, been married 25 years, 3 kids. These last 27 years have been pretty good. You know, there's obviously bumps on the roads, but you know, my only thing would
Less
probably
bumps
be,
than I've had, obviously.
Yeah, but you know, the only thing is like what everyone says. You know, don't stress over the little things.
Yeah.
You know what I
Amen.
mean? Like there was so many years that I was stressed out about so many other things until I decided finally, you know, why, and then
You gotta
get
let
a
it
little
go.
help and
Yeah.
learn how to deal with those stressors. But besides that,
Yeah.
you know, I'm in a much better space now, and
Yeah.
even with the stresses of the city council and your other job and families, but
Yeah.
just learning how, maybe getting help a little sooner and learning how to deal with all those. So maybe this wouldn't have been as gray as it is now.
Yeah. I like it though. Council?
I probably would spend more time with my family and friends. I didn't realize until losing all my grandparents last year
Yeah.
how tough it is. You can't get back time. So every chance I get, I spend with my parents. It's probably overbearing. I sleep over there on weekends and stuff. And the other thing would probably be, to be honest, I probably would have gone to a community college just to save money. Because, I don't know, it's one of those things where it's so expensive nowadays,
Oh, I know.
and you never really know what you want to do until you're a couple years in.
Yeah.
So those are my lessons that I'm going to teach
Yeah.
my kids.
Yeah. Have you picked out a godfather, godmother for the baby?
No.
Okay. All right.
You still want to be in the
we'll
running?
debate that on a future show. Yeah. Yeah. And I do want to give you a compliment. You run a good meeting. I want
Yes,
to tell you
he
that right up
does.
front. You run a good meeting. And not that any of the previous chairs didn't run a good meeting. You know, sometimes when we get in those protracted discussions, we take a relatively minor issue and it becomes like we want to put the word "and" here and this, getting out of there at 11:30 at night, it's not good for anybody. Right?
No.
And if you're like me, I can't go home and just turn it off, right? I have to go home and wind down,
Yeah.
right? So when we'd leave there at 11:30, it would be like 1 o'clock in the morning before I'd feel even close to being, okay, now I can, right? And then you got to get back up and do it all over again the next day, right? So I am appreciative of how you're running the meetings. I'm sure now that I've jinxed you, we'll probably have one that runs long, but
Well, that last meeting ran to like 9:15. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so late. Then I'm like,
yeah,
6 months ago we
Not
would have
to
been
me.
doing jumping jacks
Yeah.
getting out of there at
Yeah,
9:15.
literally.
And that was a pretty decent agenda.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was. It
Yeah.
had multiple contracts. It had multiple resolutions and ordinances. So it was no run-of-the-mill meeting, right?
No,
So
yeah.
kudos. Okay. When you think about, I don't know why I'm getting so many questions. I got to talk to Jordan. What do you hope people will remember about your time on the city council? If you could say just one thing, what's the one thing you want them to remember? I stumped you.
No, I'm just trying to figure out how to word it.
Yeah.
No matter what, no matter which way I voted, no matter what decision I made, that he he was doing it for the right reasons. That there
Amen.
wasn't any ulterior motives. You know, I'm not looking. You know, I wasn't looking out for somebody else or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, the reason I got into this, and I've stayed pretty true to that. That I feel, you know, are there regrets of votes I've taken?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think if you've done this for 4+ years, you're always going to look back and like, I wish I did this that way or this way. But
Yeah.
you know, every vote I've taken, I've done my homework on, and I felt like at the time that was the right vote for the people of Methuen.
Yeah. I agree.
And sometimes, you know, there's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking where you make a vote and then all of a sudden people come out of the woodworks.
Yeah.
It came up in the meeting last night. Let's take the bus issue with people in people's driveways. At the time, we didn't think it was a big deal. We voted on it unanimously. And then next thing you know, after the meeting, all of a
There's a
sudden,
flood.
everybody calls us. And I changed my vote on that because the public came out and
Demanded it.
said,
Yeah.
no, we don't want this.
Right.
And, you know, and unfortunate for that woman, she has a neighbor
Yeah.
that doesn't want
Yeah.
a bus in her driveway. And there's nothing we can do about that. But
I
I think the short answer is, you know, everything that I've done, you know, over these past 4 years, which will be 6 years, that I've done it, you know, with the right idea in mind of
agree.
trying to make Methuen a better
That's
place.
all you can ask, really. I mean, Counselor?
Yeah, I mean, mine would basically be the same. That all my intentions have been genuine. I
Yeah.
don't, no ulterior motive. I'm
Right.
not making deals, and
Right.
I mean, whether it's genuine for the residents or the employees, I show up. I always vote with, can I sleep at night with this? Because I'm the same way after a meeting. I stay up for hours on end and I'm screaming
Thinking
at
about what
Vinny.
you did. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And it's no good for any of us. So I always make sure that like I'm comfortable with my vote. I'm
Yeah.
comfortable with what I tell residents,
Yeah.
whether it's a yes or a no, that I can help you. So
Yeah, good for you.
And can I add one more thing to
Please,
that?
yeah.
Because, so, over these last 4 years, DJ, Allie, and myself, I feel like have come pretty close.
Yeah.
And we disagree a lot,
Yes.
but it has never left that city. It's never left the Great Hall.
That's not a bad thing,
No,
though, right?
right.
I
We
like-
definitely don't all see eye to eye,
Yeah.
but it never leaves that hall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we'll get home that night, I'm sure. We curse the other ones out to our significant others probably at some point, but it's never affected anything out of our relationship outside of City Hall
Yeah.
over these last 4 years, and that's something I'm very grateful for. And
Nor
I'll,
should it.
too.
Yeah, I
Me
agree
too.
with you. Right. So, you know, doing your utmost. So we all make mistakes, right? And I've made some too. But you know, if you can look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and say, "I did things with the best of the citizens in mind," and you know, you really have. You're going to get people that disagree with you no matter what,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you say yes, they're going to say no. But you know, sooner or later, I think there's a general understanding that most of what the council has done and what the administration has done has been with the best interest of the city at heart, right? That's the positive thing.
yeah.
All
You know, none of us are getting rich out of this.
yeah.
Huh?
None of us are getting rich out of
No,
this.
not at all,
Even with our huge pay raise that we just got as counselors.
which I gave back. So what piece of advice would you give this is a great question. What piece of advice would you give to someone who wants to run for public office? Don't take the get thick skin, because that's an obligatory, right?
Be prepared for the phone calls. Be prepared how much time it's really going to take you.
Right.
Because I don't think I was prepared for that. I didn't think how long it was going to take me on a Sunday morning to go through a packet and really do my due diligence to make sure I was ready for a meeting,
Yeah.
or how many phone calls or emails
Yeah.
I was going to get. Just be prepared and make sure that your family or your supporting cast is on board with you doing this. Because
Yeah.
if they aren't, it's going to be a very contentious 2 years or 4
Yeah.
years, because it is a large commitment outside of that.
It is.
Outside of that meeting, and people don't understand how many times a day this thing rings, or
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get an email,
Yeah.
or you know how much time I spent on a weekend going through the packet and then texting one of the other counselors or you
Yeah.
or a department head like, hey, what is this?
Yeah.
So just talk to somebody who's been in the position
Yep.
and kind of get an idea of what what it's going to be in terms of how much of your time it's going to take, and are you able to commit that? Because if you don't do this job full time, the ones who pay is going to be everyone else at that
Amen.
table, and then the rest, the 53,000 citizens of Methuen.
Without stepping into the hot bucket, I want to say I commend you guys, because to me it's clear that the council does their homework, and I think some of our past issues have been related to the part-time nature believed of the job, and making sure you go through the entire package. To your point, I like you, I do it Sunday mornings because I do it before football, so that I can get my mind straight for football. But I read through and I look and say, okay, I got to answer this. I got to, there's a question here. you've got to do that level of preparation, right? Whether you're doing it as a counselor or the mayor is immaterial. You still have to prepare for the meeting, right? And there's a lot to be said for that.
Well,
yeah.
So I don't want to speak for you, Counselor, right? But we ran because of all the stuff that was happening before us.
Yeah.
It'd be, hypocritical of us to then just walk into that meeting every other Monday and not be prepared and not know what's in front of us.
Correct.
So I feel like it's our duty then, if we're going to run because we're upset because of what previous councils did, we need to be prepared
You
when we
address that behavior.
Exactly.
Councilor, do you want anything?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely add the time commitment, like Joel said. I also, I don't know about you, but I've had many residents call me throughout the years that were confused that our jobs were not full-time jobs, and they actually thought we were full-time. So, I wouldn't call them back till 5. I'm like, oh, sorry, I was at work.
Yeah.
And they're like flustered, like, what do you mean? Like, that's your job. So yes, I would completely agree with what Councilor Faretra said. Also, I would say I would try to find a mentor, either if it's someone who's previously on council the last term or someone who was on council many years ago, because those are the people that I rely on a lot for help or just to voice my frustrations, because it's a job that can be very thankless, and your spouse might not quite understand what you're going through, to be honest.
Yeah. So how do you when you look, we've got a relatively new council in a little over a month. How do you see that dynamic evolving? Is just thoughts on how it's going to mesh together? Because to me, there's we're kind of in a feeling out mode here, right? And I used Monday night's council, so there weren't any questions asked on a bunch of things. There was a question Councilor Marsan asked on the HHSI reorg plan, right? And I thought, good question. But how do you see that evolving over time? Do you see that changing? Do you see people becoming less hesitant to kind of get in there?
I do, because I feel like when I first came on, I didn't say much those first couple of meetings. I think it takes a while to kind of get your feet wet. I think anything that's been in front of the council has been either contracts or stuff from your office. DJ has put something forward. I put something forward. I think it's going to take time for those new councilors to kind of understand, the process, what they're going to read. Like, so I'm going to give Councilor Valley all the credit in the world. Once she was elected, she reached out to me. We met at Heavenly Donuts, and she wanted to go through the packet with me. Yeah. It's like, how do you go through the packet? So there's definitely an eagerness there from the new councilors. Ron and Joyce, obviously have years of experience being on the council before, and Jana's coming from the school committee. So there's an experience there. But what I've seen from Nellie and Patricia is really a willingness to jump in with both feet and really try to learn the process and how to, you saw them wanting to get involved in multiple committees. Nellie jumping in as the vice chair, which I was skeptical at first until I met with her. So I think it's going to take some time, a couple of months. Hopefully by the time we get to budget season, people are going to feel a little more comfortable, because what I would say about Allie was she didn't speak much during meetings, but when she did, it was meaningful, because exactly. So you want to, it's not always, just because you talk a lot doesn't mean you have a lot to say.
Correct.
And I think we lived that for 4 years. Hopefully, as councilors get comfortable, they'll feel more comfortable about asking a question, and we'll get to that point. But you don't want a council who's just going to sit there for 2 years and not ask anything. So,
all right. So I got 2 more questions. One's personal, and then one's more career related. So let me ask the personal one. Do you have a favorite hobby or hobbies?
I used to like painting. I haven't been doing it because we have a lot of going on. But I used to like doing watercolor, and I was actually pretty decent at it too.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm going to probably pick that back up when we're done council.
I'm a golfer. That's pretty much my hobby at this point. I do indoor golf. I just was at X Golf on Sunday. That place is great.
Place is awesome, huh?
Yes, it is. John and his wife Megan are phenomenal people.
Terrific people.
Yes. So I would say golf is my biggest hobby at this point. And now that I'm going to be redoing the camper, so that's when we're going to start doing a little more camping But I can't do a tent. I did that when the kids were younger, and that wasn't for me.
It takes a lot of patience. So now let's switch to the career. Sorry. So what are your plans once you leave office? Go.
So once I leave office,
Yeah.
it depends on the day. And I'm 100% serious, where there are days where I hang up that phone and I'm like, I cannot wait until December 31st,
I'm trying
2025.
to bait you into saying you'll run for mayor.
Right. Oh,
So
there's
get DJ all shook up.
I'd love to throw that grenade out there and mess with him. There's definitely not a mayor's run in my future. That'll never happen.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to rule out that I wouldn't come back for council
Never
at some
say
point.
never, though.
Right, that's what I mean. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I'm never going to run for council again,
Yeah.
because if I say that,
Yeah.
and then when I do come back,
Yeah.
but I don't see it right now.
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm going to take those couple of years off. We'll see what happens, but
Yeah.
it's also the landscape. You never know what's going to happen with the
don't.
next city
You
council.
don't. Yeah.
If all of a sudden the next city council comes in, you don't like what's going on, whether in your district or the city in general,
Yeah.
you could decide, hey, I want to throw my hat back in there and do it. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure. What do you think, Allie?
You, Counselor?
Yeah, I do not plan on running for office. I mean, maybe a board in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can never say never, but yeah, I just,
You're in a different spot. You're having your first child.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah.
one up in Vermont as a doctor. I got another one graduating college this May, and my youngest is a sophomore. So I'm empty nesting. So I need something to do, or my wife's going
Yeah.
to kill me if I'm in the house too
Yeah.
much.
That's true.
So we got some questions from the audience. Here we go.
All right.
So good on you, because last week when we had, you can tell Ron Marson and Nick DeZoglio, they got 0 questions from the audience.
Oh, bummer.
So Greg Williams says, for Council Faretra, I hear you a lot during the high school basketball games. How did you get involved in that, and do you enjoy it?
I love it. So I think it started when I started doing probably the mayor's minutes with you.
Yeah.
And then I ended up doing football,
Yeah.
and then basketball just kind of evolved. And
Yeah.
it's one of the things I really enjoy to do.
Yeah.
I don't have the time to do all the games, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
I can. If you watch the broadcast, you can tell I have a lot of fun doing
Yeah.
Samantha Files' 1,000-point game. That
Outstanding.
Sunday, that
Yeah.
was so much fun, and doing
Yeah.
that interview afterwards. It was great to be to be able to call that game.
Well, I'll be honest with you. That's one of the things I miss most since a year ago. So I think I was doing color broadcasts for the football game,
Yeah.
and I loved it. I mean, and I say this, Coach Ryan's been on the show a number of times. The Easton boys and all the players, not only are they good at the sport, but they are terrific young representatives of our city, right? And to me, being around them was really special, right? I miss, now I can't, hoof it up to the booth at the top of the stadium. It's too much for my old legs, but yeah, it's a great thing.
It is. And I appreciate it for Methuen Community Studios and Jim Daw, who's back there in the control
Yes.
room.
Jim does a great job.
Yes, he does.
Quite the man.
So-
And I appreciate your excitement, your level of excitement. So when I tune in, I hear the level of excitement in your voice. I say, man, I wish I could, project that myself, right? He's like, oh, Samantha Fire from downtown.
Jim's not as excited when he has to control my volume on the mics, though.
Yeah.
So.
Well, he wants the monotone mayor, come back. Teresa Wenger, Teresa, I wondered where you were last week. The Methuen City Councilors do a great job. You got a thumbs up, both of you.
Thank you, Teresa.
What do you like best about being a city councilor? Didn't we already talk about that?
We did talk about, we talked about, helping out those constituents that have issues. And, I think that's probably that's the reason why you get into this. It's not for the fame or the glory.
No.
It's, you want to help out your fellow,
Right.
your neighbors, the fellow taxpayers and all of that. And I think if I wish I could, it's really easy to get on social media and bash us when your tax bill comes in and, oh, my taxes are high. And you really wish that, more people get involved and, all right, come sit down with us for a meeting.
Right.
And
Understand
it. They don't understand that, it's funny because we had this conversation earlier this week that somehow we're exempt from paying taxes.
Yeah.
We don't get the same tax bill
No, me too, yeah.
that we vote on as well. We all feel it as well, but where do you cut? And I was probably the biggest one out of the council that was trying to cut everything under the sun
Oh, I know.
last year.
Yeah.
But
Well, you saw the other night in the meeting, I wanted to, bop Councilor DeZoglio on the head because he's turning to Chief Shee saying, well, you should ask for more. I said, you put me in a bad spot,
Right.
dude, right?
he's going to, during his budget season, you're going to have the chief going, well, Councilor DeZoglio says you should give me 4 more firefighters.
Yeah, right. There's a cost associated with that.
We'd all love to, right?
Amen.
We'd all love to
The
fully
easiest thing
stock.
to do is say yes. If it was not for taxes, services would be plentiful, right?
Right.
But
if we can
people
figure
have
out
to-
a way, if we can figure out a way to bring in, more, we need income, right? You need
Absolutely.
you need revenues,
We
and
need
that's
more
our biggest
businesses
issue.
in the city. That's true. And then the second piece is, I think the residents need to understand that the same things that impact the three of us in a personal level. You go to the grocery store, you go to Market Basket where you both work, everything's more expensive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing for the city to buy stuff too, right? Whether it's wood or gas or whatever, it's costing more, right?
Yeah.
And-
Yep.
And it's usually more expensive for the city when it comes to,
Correct.
you have to pay prevailing wage on projects,
Correct.
and when you're buying stuff off of
Correct.
combis and everything else.
Yeah.
When you have to go through the state, things unfortunately even more expensive when we have to pay for it through the city
Yeah.
coffers as compared to coming out of your own pocket.
Agreed.
Plus,
Agreed.
we're trying to retain employees with new CBAs coming
Yeah.
up, and it's hard when other private companies and at the state level they pay their
Yeah.
employees so much.
Yeah.
We have to be somewhat
Agreed.
competitive.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, and I think we've done things on the CBA. I remember when we brought the patrol officers contract to you guys. There was a lot of discussion about the Quinn bill, and my feedback to you guys, I don't know if you remember, was we want the best and the brightest. Right? When you turn on your TV. And you see anything about police departments across the country, it's not good news,
No.
right? There's no good news being published. To me, one of the things we've done is we've kind of set ourselves up to get better qualified candidates for our jobs, right? Our police jobs anyways, right? And to your point, we've got to replicate that because we're competing with the Dunkin' Donuts of the world, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can make $17, $18 an hour working at Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, that's a great thing, right?
Yeah, and not many qualifications or certificates are required,
Correct.
so it's
Correct,
tough.
right? Just customer service. All right, it's 6:21. We got 9 minutes left. I got to go through some upcoming events, and then I'm going to come back to you and say, what would you like to say to the city of Methuen, right? So be thinking on that because I got like all these ads that Jordan gave me to get through.
All right.
So early voting is number one, and I got to flip to it. Go ahead. So important days. So the last day to register for early voting is Saturday, February 24th from 8 to 5 p.m. at City Hall, located at 41 Pleasant Street. So that Saturday, the clerk's office is open 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you miss it there, and by the way, you can go on the Commonwealth of Mass, the state registrar's website. You can put in your name, your street address, and it'll tell you, A, whether you're registered, what you're registered at, and where you vote, which is really great. The first day of early voting is that same Saturday, February 24th. So we're going to bring the month of February to a banging conclusion from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. But this is at Methuen Police Station, located 90 Hampshire Street, right? So Saturday, February 24th is the last day to register for early voting. And the first day of early voting is that same day, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Methuen Police Station. So come on out if you want to vote early. I won't, like I told you, because last time I voted early in a presidential election, my candidate dropped out before it came to fruition, even in Massachusetts, right? Very disappointing. Then this is the primary early voting schedule. So that Saturday we talked about. All of these are at the Methuen Police Department at 90 Hampshire Street, or I should say Sanborn Hall. So between Saturday, February 24th and Friday, March 1st. And that Friday, March 1st, unlike City Hall, you can early vote between 8 and 4:30, whereas City Hall closes at noontime. If you have any questions, call the Office of City Clerk at 978-983-8515. Next slide, please. So this was from Ann's presentation last week, just to show you. And if you go one more slide ahead, so what she really wanted to show, and I hope it came through, is on the right-hand side, you have to fill this out. You have to fill out your name and your signature on the left-hand side. But on the right-hand side, you get to determine if you want to mail-in vote for all 2024 elections, if you just want the presidential primary, if you just want the state primary, or if you just want the state election, or if you want them all, right? You can check them all. And then down below there is something equally important. So what primary ballot do you want? What party? Do you want Democrat, Republican, or Libertarian, right? And the same with the presidential, right? Because they won't know what ballot to send you if you don't pick up there. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just so somebody who had 2 kids in college last time.
Yeah.
If you're filling this out so you can get your ballots at school, make sure you put the correct address in that line where it says mail ballot to
Amen.
me somewhere different, because we had to rush around to get my kids to vote for me in November because the ballots came to my house. So I made them come home.
Right. Yeah. I remember that.
Well,
Okay.
no, it was the first election where they sent my kid the wrong ballot.
Wrong ballot, yeah.
Yeah.
So the next thing is the Methuen 300. So our tricentennial's coming up. So
that's
we're asking for so we're not looking to dictate what happens. We're looking for a self-governed committee of citizens and others to talk about what do we do for Methuen's 300th year. So the mayor said, I'd like to see us do more with our recreational space and maybe find something and procure it for the city long term. So more to stay tuned on that. But we want your ideas. What is it we do to celebrate? Let's make it, and let's be honest. So a couple of the most recent parades, our Veterans Day Parade, our Santa Day Parade, the attendance was down too.
But the weather wasn't great for that.
The weather
either.
was dicey, and then we lost the tree lighting, which is one of my favorite events. But, we want to get people involved so that we do a slam bang, presentation in 2026. And by the way, that will be the 300th anniversary of Methuen and the 250th of the United States. So next thing is, and I'm not going to read these, we've got Rec doing tons of stuff. Kudos to Steve Angelo. He's got public skating, basketball clinic, Sports Zone 101, flag football, and probably my favorite, the Lego Masters, all running during vacation week. So parents, if you need information, go out to MethuenRec.com and take a look and sign your kids up for the program. There are also partial week, and most of these programs, if you look like the Sports Zone, there's a full day and a half day rate, right? And you also can get drop-in registration. The next is this, my favorite, the Skate and Read. This is like
Great
that old
program.
VW commercial. You don't have to read while you're skating. I don't want anybody to be, So it starts every Tuesday and Thursday, starting March 12th to May 30th, 4 to 6 p.m. I think outside of Forest Lake, one of the things that often gets overlooked is we have an ice arena. It's truly a gem, right, to have in the city. Go ahead,
Well,
Gus.
the unfortunate part is staffing. We've had a hard time for years to get enough custodians to work the high school to staff the rink and keep it open as it needs to. But Jay Atkinson and Methuen Youth Hockey do a great job with that Skate to Read program.
Driving that Zamboni ain't easy. Next one is Methuen Boy Scouts, and so I won't read those. Billy Corcoran and team, and also the Girl Scout troops that meet at St. Lucy's on Mondays. If you're interested, either reach out to the individuals highlighted here, or reach out to the mayor's office and we'll put you in touch with them. The next is Methuen Youth Baseball. I'm hurrying because I want the councilors to get one more. Registration is still open, and you can still register to play at player assessments on February 4th at New Balance Training Facility.
Today's the 7th.
Is today the 7th?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to chide Jordan for leaving that in there. Maybe it's too late. It's too late, baby. All right, the next is the Methuen Youth Lacrosse. Have we got any dates on here that are? No. 2024 spring season. Registration $140, insurance is $40. Family discounts and monthly installments available. Boys and girls grades K to 8. Boy, has this sport taken off, right? I went to 2 years ago when you had that jamboree at the stadium. I was just blown away by the number of kids that were participating, right?
Such a great sport.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. Methuen Youth Soccer, registration is clothing. It's been extended till February 9th. So reach out to Michelle Cushman, who is a full-time advocate. And yes, Michelle, I will sponsor yet again. Happy to do so. She reaches out, and she's a good egg. The next one is Nevin's Library, the indoor mini golf. I'm sponsoring. Make sure you sign up to participate. This is a fundraiser. The entry fee is $5 per person, right at the door, cash only. Refreshments available for purchase. This is one hell of an event.
I can't wait.
Right?
The wife and I will be there.
I'm going. So, and then next we got Methuen Youth Hockey 2024 tryouts. A lot going on in our athletic and recreation fields. March 18th to March 20th, thank you. Methuen Girls Softball. And by the way, hopefully either they listened into the council meeting or when you have your meeting tonight, we're going They switched to the LED lights at Burnham Road. That's going to be a huge improvement. And then there's going to be significant upgrades made regarding fencing and the field condition. And that is it for upcoming events. That's a lot.
Yes.
But a lot for you to participate in if you're a parent or a child in the city of Methuen. So I'm going to go back to the councilors, and we'll start with Councilor Saffie, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
So what would you like to say before you?
I would tell residents to get involved, scream it from the hilltops, whether it's, applying for a board or a commission or teaching, your kids youth baseball or whatever,
Yeah.
do something to get involved.
Amen.
Come to the meetings. If you have a zoning board issue, go to the zoning board issue meetings. Come to council meetings. If you're upset about your tax bill,
Yeah.
come to us at budget time. That's
Yeah.
the best time to come.
Yeah.
But don't just come and watch it. Get involved.
Amen.
Sign up to speak. If you don't like your tax bill, go through the budget and find out
Right.
what you would be willing to cut, because we can't. It's hard to read minds, and it's hard to make cuts based off of.
It is.
We all want to
It
keep
is.
our
Yep.
services. So
Yeah.
get involved.
Well, and there's also, to your point, there's work programs for the seniors. If you want to defray some of your tax bill, we have an expanded program that council did a great job negotiating last council. So that has increased the number of hours and the amount of abatement that can happen. So that program is signing up folks right now through the senior center and through our HR department. So take advantage of it if you want to abate. If you're a senior, you want to abate, or a veteran, and you want to abate some of your tax bill. Mr. Chair.
So just to follow up on what Ally was saying, be proactive, not reactive. Don't wait until after decisions are made and get upset and come yelling at us. Get involved beforehand and be part of the process. Don't be on the sidelines and then complain after the fact.
Amen.
Some people may look at it as being a pain in our sides when you come to meetings, but no, we want to hear that feedback
Yeah.
because,
Absolutely.
if I don't know, if nobody reaches out to me on an issue, I'm only going off of what I read, and that's how I
Right.
make my decision. But when I hear from numerous people about something, now I have more information, especially where there could be an issue that I may not have
Yep.
more knowledge about than somebody else who works in a field or whatever. So
Yeah.
be involved. Don't be afraid to reach out to us or the mayor's office or whoever,
Amen.
and just
Yeah.
be part of your community.
Yeah, and building off what you both said before I sign off. So we are in dire need of replacing somebody on the Assessors Board. Councilor Soto, excuse me, was on the Assessors Board and can't do that now that she's a councilor. So we are looking for candidates who might have some knowledge about taxes, real estate, etc. If that's something that fits your bill, please, contact Jordan in the mayor's office and let's get you interviewed for a position on the Board of Assessors. And there, I close with, I love what you both said, get involved. Get involved to me means we need more than 6,000 people voting, right? In a city with almost 30,000 registered voters, it is, I'm sorry to say, a damn shame that only 6,000 people vote. And maybe that's because, there wasn't a hotly contested race or this or that. But, I want to see staggering numbers for the presidential primary. I want to see staggering numbers for the presidential election and the state reps races. It's important. Come out and voice your choice and make sure it's known. We're back here next week. I love having these two here. Thank you both for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Can I just
having
add
us.
one thing to what you
Please.
said?
Yeah.
All the issues that usually that affect you the most happen within these city limits, and those are the elections that we have the fewest people to turn out for. So
True.
Yep.
those are the decisions that matter more to you. So turn out for your local elections more than your
Amen.
presidential
A
elections.
lesson I learned painfully, and I say that truthfully.
Yes.
So this is the mayor. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week here on Mayor's Minutes. We are going to be bringing in a few of our local business holders after we finish the Meet Your Council. We've got several folks that have expressed an interest in coming in and talking to you about, we want to bring the owners of the Sweetheart Inn in, and Sweetheart Inn is open again.
Yep.
And,
So good.
you should be, we went up there and sampled the cuisine a couple times. It's fabulous. And you can say the mayor told you the cuisine was fabulous. So we're going to have a couple local businesses on, talk about, what they do, how they serve. We're going to have Jocelyn from 7 Mile on. She's about ready to open out in the valley. So good stuff happening. So until next week, God bless you all. Stay healthy, and we'll see you back here on the Mayor's Minutes.